Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock in Maui and I hope it's a good time wherever you are to watch this video. What I wanted to talk today about is veggies in the dog cancer diet and how, sure, they have anti-cancer benefits, but maybe they do something else, something a little more magical, something that we don't really think about that often. And I have a story from my own life to teach you about this. And so I wanted to take a minute and interrupt your feed and say, hey, did you know that good bacteria feed on your salad every day? So here's the deal. I'm Molly Jacobson. I'm the editor of this book, The Dog Cancer Survival Guide. Whoops, there you go. And in this book, there's a chapter on diet. Dr. Dressler was one of the very first people to recommend a low-carb, moderate protein, moderate fat diet for dogs with cancer. He based it on tons of literature that is out there and validated in practice, certainly by now, almost 15 years after he first came up with the dog cancer diet. One of the things that really surprises a lot of people are that so many veggies like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, red and yellow and green peppers, certain mung bean sprouts, that these vegetables are all in the diet in such large quantities, whereas maybe vegetables like peas and carrots and things we might think of as more standard are left out. So there's reasons for that I'm going to get into really quickly. And then I'm going to tell you a story about an extra reason to make sure that those vegetables are in your dog's diet and also possibly in your own. But first, I need to let you know I am not a veterinarian. I am a writer. I am not a medical professional on the human side either. I am what I call a super health nerd. I really love science. I like to learn about it from the experts, and then I like to kind of put it through my writer's brain and my storyteller's brain and come up with ways to explain these things to my friends and my family and readers of the Dog Cancer Survival Guide and the Dog Cancer blog and listeners of the Dog Cancer Answers podcast in ways that they will understand, so that all of us can benefit from all of this amazing research that's out there that isn't necessarily in the mainstream in a format that everybody can understand. So I'm a super health nerd. Maybe you are too. Even if you aren't, you might get something out of this video. Okay, and also I have lots of medical professionals to help me. I wouldn't put anything, I'll tell you if it's my story versus what I have learned from somebody else, okay? And I'll always put links in my videos to make sure you can go check it out for yourself. All right, first, Dr. Dressler's reasons for including veggies in the dog cancer diet, which again is in his book, The Dog Cancer Survival Guide. Most of the interesting information, I think, is around the cruciferous vegetables, the Brussels sprouts, broccoli, the cabbage. My dogs love cabbage. They are superheroes when it comes to supporting the liver and detoxing the body. The reason they are superheroes is because they assist the liver in all three phases. The liver does 3 different things in order to take a toxin, a chemical that we don't want in the body, and take it out of a fat-soluble state and move it into a water-soluble state so that it can exit. So how do things exit the body? They exit through the urine and the feces. So what the liver does is in 3 very specific stages. It takes something that we don't want in the body at all that might be lodged in the tissues or coming through the food, coming through the air. Everything goes into the bloodstream, gets filtered through the liver, and the liver changes things. So the thing to know about cancer is that even if your dog's not on what we think of as toxic, a lot of people will say, oh, chemo is toxic, radiation is toxic. Certain medications, those are toxins. Sure, they're also possibly helping, but to the body, they are definitely perceived, and some of their byproducts are perceived as toxins or chemicals that we don't want in the end. And the liver has to deal with those. But cancer itself also generates toxins. So any dog who has cancer has toxins from the cancer itself, and that's every dog with cancer has extra toxins in their body from the illness. And then there are also other things that can come along with treatments and other byproducts that you might of things you might be doing to fight the cancer. So all dogs with cancer need extra support in detoxing. One of the main reasons to include Brussels sprouts, cabbage, broccoli into the dog cancer diet is because they're so good at supporting the liver in all three phases. Here are the things that come in from cancer itself. Cancer gobbles sugar. When sugar is broken down as food, it creates specifically a chemical called lactate. You may have heard of being lactose intolerant. So lactate is a chemical that's associated with that. You want to break that down and get it out of the body. So that's one chemical toxin that cancer is producing in the body. It's producing lactate. Let's see what else. Cancer also creates a very acidic atmosphere in the body. It releases acid. Acid is definitely a toxin. Cancer also creates a lot of inflammation. And so as a result of the inflammation, that your dog has tons of free radicals that are being generated by the cancer itself that are now going around and causing damage in other areas. So all of those things, of course, all of those toxins get into the bloodstream, get into the liver to be filtered out. And that's where these veggies can help, because in all three stages of converting those toxins from fat soluble into water soluble so they can exit the body, those vegetables are helping. Okay, that's the science. I'll put links to to a couple good articles, and of course you can read about this in the book as well. That will help you to kind of go understand that better. There's a really good graphic about the three phases of detox that is really helpful. So I'll make sure there's a link to the video that might need to be done after in the comments or in the description after the video ends. So we know liver detox is good. Dr. Dressler includes the veggies for that. So here's my story. I've known about this, for over a decade working with this material. Oh, veggies, detox, veggies, providing bulk to the intestines, veggies, great for dogs with cancer. I knew it, but I didn't understand the full cosmic reason why that might be true until I was at a homeowners association meeting about 6 months ago. And I talked to two of my neighbors. Stay with me. So I have two neighbors. They're married to each other. Their names are David and Susan. I'm going to call them David and Susan. They are researchers into the microbiome. You may have heard of the microbiome. The microbiome is the population of bacteria, good and bad, that every human and every dog and every, it seems, mammal on the planet, probably also other species, but I don't have that in front of me, so I don't want to say for sure. Certainly humans, definitely dogs. We all carry around all of these bacteria with us all the time. Some of those bacteria are good, some of them are bad. In general, the good bacteria can help to control the bad bacteria and keep us from getting a severe infection. So here's the creepy thing. 10 times our cells. For every one human cell in this body, you're looking at my face right now, you look at me and you see human woman, guess what? 10 times me. 10 times me. That's how many bacteria I'm carrying around. So we are outnumbered. Human cells to probiotics and bad biotics, if that's not the word, but to bacteria, 10 times the number of bacteria to human cells in the body. So our microbiome, this collection of 10 times the number of cells we have, is incredibly, incredibly important to our health. I have a feeling that if you have more good bacteria than bad bacteria, you're a better person. I don't mean better morally, but I mean healthier. If you have more bacteria that are bad than good, you're probably ill in some way. And these live everywhere. We've known for a long time they live in the gut. We're now finding out they live in the sinuses, they live on the skin. They're probably everywhere. They haven't mapped the whole body yet and really figured all of this out. But that's where we know what we know about them. There's a lot of them. They impact our health. Their health is very important to our health. So I'm at the HOA meeting. It's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. I walk in, I go and grab some coffee. David and Susan are there. And they say, "You're having 2 cups of coffee?" Because I had 2 cups of coffee and my husband wasn't there. And so I said, "Yes, I am. I have a migraine. I've had a migraine for 2 days. And if I don't get my proper dose of caffeine, I will not be able to hold it off today. And then I will get really sick later this afternoon. But the caffeine helps me to stabilize." So they go, "Really? Have you ever heard of the microbiome?" And I say, "Of course I've heard of the microbiome." And they say, "Did you know that the microbiome is involved in migraines?" And I said, "I do. That's why I like to take probiotics right now." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, that's good." So here's where the story gets good. I say to them, because they're researchers, they're not doctors, they're not clinicians, they don't treat people, but they're researchers, so they know a lot. And I said, "So tell me, as people who study the microbiome, do you use probiotics?" And they kind of go, "Probiotics are good. However, we don't know enough about which specific probiotics, good bacteria, help which specific conditions to really use them in a very specific way." So Susan said, "If I have to replenish my gut really quickly, like if I have to take an antibiotic, I will take a probiotic. But mainly," and here's the story, guys, this is what they told me. They said, "Live like your grandmother lived. Go to sleep at night as early as you can sleep. Stay asleep for as long as you can. Meditate, walk on the beach, and eat a salad with every meal." Because this is what David told me. Salads feed your probiotics. They're prebiotic. All of the nutrition that we get from vegetables, including, I assume, from the cruciferous veggies that are in the dog cancer diet, all of those are all the nutrition is so good for us. But what's really happening in the gut is that we're laying down this amazing infrastructure, this food and home. Like we're building every time we eat a salad, every time we eat vegetables, especially vegetables that have a lot of fiber. We are it's like we're giving a palace to the good bacteria in our microbiome. We're saying, "Here you go. Here's your food and shelter." And those good bacteria use that to repopulate our body. So they eat a lot of cultured foods, not like outrageous amounts. They have some yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, things that give you natural probiotics from food sources. That's what our bodies are designed to take in. Food that's cultured, and then lots of vegetables to maintain the home and the food supply for the probiotics. Because here's what they told me that was crazy. David said, if we have one fight in our relationship, we know we could knock all of our probiotics out. Stress just decimates our probiotic. It makes our microbiome, they go like that. So when we have, do you have any stress in your life right now? Are we going through a stressful time right now? Think about all of the stresses that we're going through right now as a collective on this globe. And then think about our dogs and their ability to pick up our emotions and their ability to understand, like, oh, mom's kind of stressed out. And think about how every day we are under stress from one thing or another, and probably for most of us, multiple things. And think about what that's doing to our probiotics. It's not good. They're not getting enough. They're under siege, basically. Just like we feel under siege, so are those 10 times probiotics under siege. So what we need to do is feed them. Sure, if you take probiotics David and Susan, I asked them, I said, well, should people not take probiotics? They said, well, we wouldn't say that. If they're helping you, do it. But just know that you can take them and you can have a good population, and then all of them can die after one bad fight with your spouse or with your child, or us, you almost get into a car accident. That kind of stress can just decimate you. So make it a habit. He said, when you're having a meal, think of the fat and the protein as feeding your human cells, and the nutrition from the vegetables, if you're eating enough fat in that meal, will actually get into your blood, and that's good. But most of the vegetables, think of that as feeding your microbiome. So this really helps me personally, because it's not that I don't like vegetables. I do, they're fine, but it's not my preferred food, and I don't feel fantastic. I'm much more like, I will eat protein first. I have like a certain genetic makeup and a type O blood, and this is like, I don't feel personally so attracted to vegetables. I've never been anti-vegetables. I like them. I eat them. I was raised to eat them, but they're not like delicious for me. So now whenever I see vegetables on my plate, which is every day and actually every meal, and we tend to eat 3 salads a day now, I think those are for my probiotics, and I give them what they need. I give them that house. I give them a house to live in and food to feed on. So not only are these vegetables in your dog's diet good for them in terms of giving very specific liver detox nutrition that helps the liver to take out all of those extra toxins, not just from cancer, but also possibly from stress, right? They're those superheroes that Dr. Dressler talks about. David and Susan, the microbiome researchers, would say they're also helping to support your probiotic population and keeping your microbiome in the house and home that it deserves. So when you're making your dog cancer diet for your dogs, think about those vegetables. Think about the low starch vegetables that he recommends. Think about take a look at broccoli. It's like a tree. You're like eating like a little tree. There's a reason for that. That food is the home for the probiotics. This is very, very helpful for me. So when I'm making the dog cancer diet, I don't skip on the vegetables. I don't think, oh, my dogs prefer meat. No, the meat is for their flavor. The meat is for them. That's what makes them happy. The vegetables, and I can see it in their happy poops, the vegetables are feeding the probiotics. Now, I happen to also give my dogs a probiotic. I know somebody's going to ask about this. I do give my dogs a probiotic as well. It's just the daily one that's in EverPup. I just use that. And if they're ever on an antibiotic, then I will give a separate Fortiflora, I think is what Dr. Dressler usually prescribes in those cases. And I know there's something else too. There's other things you can give that are probiotics specifically for dogs. You should ask your vet about that. However, I don't ever skip on the vegetables, because the vegetables are for the probiotics. And at least in my case, for every human cell in my body, I've got 10 bacteria to house and feed. And I want to make sure that the good ones, the ones that keep me healthy, are thriving. So let me look at my notes and see, is there anything else? I don't think so. Anyway, that's my story about probiotics and why you should eat your salads. Vegetables with every meal. If you can, you'll see a huge difference in your ability to just walk around in the world as a human with her or his bacteria very happy. You want those bacteria to be very happy, your microbiome to be very happy. It is, in fact, one of the reasons to have vegetables in your diet. Just going to look at, let's see, Barbara, you asked, vegetables can I feed my dogs and foods, and what is the better biscuits? So for sure, anything that's cruciferous. And the funny thing is, like, we think that cabbage, we think of it as being a stinky vegetable, but dogs seem to really like it. They seem to really like those vegetables. We think of it kind of a little bitter, a little sulfuric. They love it. There's a whole list in the dog cancer diet. Oops, sorry, just made too much noise. There's a whole list of vegetables, so definitely check it out. And I'll put a link in the notes for the video so that you can read it. Yeah, Karen, I know. It's amazing how much dogs really do love those cruciferous vegetables. And, oh, okay. So, Barbara, in terms of fresh vegetables or canned vegetables, I personally lean towards fresh vegetables, but I also live in a place where fresh vegetables are available all the time. And the other thing that you need to know about, there's a lot of reasons to maybe not canned vegetables. Why don't you try frozen vegetables? Frozen vegetables are picked at the height of freshness, and then they're very quickly frozen. So by the time they get to your house, they're actually maybe sometimes in many cases even fresher than the ones that you would buy in the produce store, in the produce section at your local store. Just because that produce was picked and then shipped, right? And then it sits out for who knows how long until you come along to pick it up. And the produce manager is looking at it and saying, okay, that's still fresh enough to keep on the shelf. But a frozen vegetable has been picked, quick frozen, so like that, and then shipped in a frozen state, so that by the time you defrost it or it goes into the water to steam it, then it is basically almost picked fresh. Truly. So I really like frozen vegetables personally. That's what I feed my dogs. Also, they make excellent snacks because if a frozen vegetable, like a frozen piece of broccoli, is really, really yummy to my dog Rue, particularly. She really likes that. It gives her kind of the hard, like the chewy crunch and it's fun, I think, for her as the texture changes as it goes from frozen to more defrosted, and she really likes the taste. So you can use frozen vegetables as a treat. And then in terms of biscuits, I tend to use, actually, I mean, I'm not a vet, so this can't be considered veterinary recommendations. I tend to use treats that come from really reputable companies where I trust their methods. I'm partial to Origin and The Honest Kitchen. I like all of their treats. The liver treats from Origin are things that if I offer my dogs one of those, oh my God, they will do whatever I want them to do. So, and because liver is part of the dog cancer diet, I tend to like that. Now, I'm not somebody who gives my dogs lots of treats throughout the day. So I can do that because I'm giving like one treat a day, usually at the end of the evening when they want to go straight to bed, but I want them to take one last pee before we go into bed. I'll give them a little Origin liver treat. Any one of the flavors, they think are fabulous. I also like The Honest Kitchen. All of their treats are really yummy for the dogs, and are pretty low carb. They're high quality. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will try to answer as many as I can. And if you have any ideas for future shows, don't hesitate to drop a line. Go to Dog Cancer Survival Guide on Facebook, or put your question in the comments. Like anything that you're confused about cancer that you want me to find a way to explain. That's what I'm really looking for, is what are the things that you would like a layperson to explain to you? That's what I can do. All right. I hope you have a great day. It's 4:23 now my time, so I'm going to go and do a little work and then have some dinner and a salad. And I hope you have a wonderful evening or day, and that you think of your probiotics the next time you eat veggies.